gearbox, guys. Not only will Charles Leclerc not start from pole position, he will not start the Monaco Grand Prix at all. Ferrari confirm that it's a problem with the left drive shaft, which is impossible to fix in time for the start of the race.
It's lights out and away we go. Bottas got away well. Verstappen comes over to cover him and does cover off the Mercedes into Sandoval. Max Verstappen past the point where he's had a couple of crashes in the past, but nothing has arisen this year to spoil Max Verstappen's party. This is going to be his first podium in Monaco. It's his first win in Monaco. Max Verstappen leads the World Championship and wins the Monaco Grand Prix. What?
Yes! Welcome back in the paddock F1, Greeny and the Cheese. Not gonna lie, I'm a little bummed. Straight off, let's say thank you, David Croft and Formula1.com, courtesy for you guys for the audio for the beginning of the show, but I am bummed out.
Like a balloon being deflated, my friend. There you are. Yesterday you were turning red and turning in your volume from 10 to 11 all the way up to 15. I had to turn my speakers down. I thought you almost broke them. It's like the time we were in CBS Studios and we rattled the walls because we were way too loud, which happens. And now we have a deflation. Although, I mean, you did get a Ferrari on the podium. We did see red today on the podium, and we saw no Mercedes on the podium for those who are a Ferrari fan or Red Bull fan or any fan besides the Petronas AMG. It was not a terrible day. If you are a fan of Charles Leclerc, it was a pretty miserable day and a miserable way to start, especially with the tease, right? Especially with the tease. You know the tease was in full effect. And you knew at the back of your mind something had happened. You knew. Overnight, we were sitting here 2:30 a.m. Monaco time, and we knew that any minute the hammer can drop. The other shoe can fall, and it's the end of the day for Charles Leclerc. We didn't think it would happen, and then it wasn't the gearbox, right? You thought worst case scenario. Hold on, you thought worst case scenario. Sitting here yesterday, 2:30 a.m. Monaco time, that worst case scenario was Charles Leclerc was starting 6th place.
Yeah, I totally. I thought if they had any type of issue they'd found, they'd throw him back at 6th. They said everything with the gearbox was cool, was good. Ends up being the left rear drive shaft, which I don't understand how they didn't check everything on the rear end or all over the car after the Charles hit it after quali. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's just something that happens when it gets put under load. I don't know. I want to hear what this investigation that they're going to do is going to yield. But Mad Max, with no Ferrari for pole, they decided not to move everybody up one spot. They decided to stay where you are. We'll just start without anybody. So Max had nobody in front of him. Made the nice move to cut off Valtteri to make him take his foot off the gas. So we didn't run in the back of him, and away he went and ran away with the victory, as most pole sitters do at Monaco, because you really can't pass.
Yeah, I mean, listen, Valtteri, I believe, got a better start. If you look at the start, he actually did get a better start. So I think if Max didn't pull that move and if Red Bull didn't, I'm sure advise him to, angle himself there and kind of angle himself into Bottas and kind of steer him off or have him hit the brake, even for a minuscule second. That saved the race because Bottas could have got in front of him. Now we knew later, hindsight is 2020. We knew later that was definitely not the outcome when you have the absolute disaster in the pit, and we'll get to that a little bit later, I'm sure. But I think today we have a dichotomy of things, right? We have two very separate things that happen. We have an amazing win by Max Verstappen, who could have, should have, would have made pole if we didn't have the accident going into at the end of qualifying. And so it's a little bit of justice there as well. He sort of, in some ways, probably deserved that spot. And number two, we're talking about Charles Leclerc and what happened there. You know, his home race, and really, you know, how many people get to grow up watching that race from your apartment. I mean, he lived in one of those apartment buildings out there. He was watching the race. Watching, no joke. So I mean, the odds of that happening, to be able to race there and be on pole there, and have the opportunity. So it's just so disappointing on one end. I mean, it's not like a surprise that Max Verstappen won. He was the odds-on favorite to win the race, even sitting at second. Coming in, Max on front row is going to be the favorite every single week, regardless of position. And usually gets the better start too. It was amazing that Bottas got the better start. But we were seeing red though. We did see Carlos Sainz coming in second, which, I mean, you know, you're so deflated. That if I told you on Thursday that you were going to have one Ferrari on podium, you'd be pretty pumped about it. And obviously, it was the teaser that I think killed all Ferrari fans this weekend.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's great to see Carlos finish second. He deserved it. He was fast all weekend. If Charles doesn't hit the wall, possibly he's on pole for the race for quali. So, and then it's a totally different thing. It's just a total bummer with Charles not starting the race. I mean, you could have had two Ferraris on the podium this week. As I picked my gambling picks that ended up being trash, as we'll discuss later.
Yeah, we'll get to your trash later. But go ahead.
There was just I mean, I went out. I was massively, massively pumped. I mean, after the show last night, I was through the moon, ecstatic. I didn't go to bed till super darn late. Mega pumped. The energy was flowing. I got like no sleep, but I popped out of bed this morning, roared and ready to go. Went out and got breakfast, eating my breakfast sandwich, watching free race coverage. And then they give you the audio of Charles coming out of the tunnel, and no. And like a balloon, as you said, it was crushing. It was totally
in
crushing.
The wind. Like a balloon, you release it and it just farts out in the wind. And that is pretty much
totally
felt like
100% crushed. 100% crushed. It's great to see Carlos finish second. Max was just brilliant. Completely brilliant today. I mean, he was even running away from Valtteri there, who was trying to close in, but then, you know, Max stepped it up again because he wasn't going through his tires as quick as a Mercedes. But it's all hail Mad Max. 4-point lead in the championship. Red Bull is... What is Red Bull? I think 8 point now ahead of Mercedes in the constructors.
You could be right. It's close. It's tight. I mean,
I think it's a point between the two now. So, we're back to being game on. I mean, Lewis with the Mercedes was just god awful all weekend. Red Bull was throwing in performances as they've been putting down all season as the preseason favorite to win the title. A lot of betting people would have had their money that way. So Mercedes, Red Bull just threw it, put it down, throwing down 2-second pit stops again for Max.
Yeah, 2 second for Max, 2.8 for Perez.
Perez, I mean, Perez, great pit strategy with Perez. Has him finishing fourth. That's why the gap now is in Red Bull's favor in the constructors. So kudos to Red Bull and poo-poo to Mercedes at this point. It's Mad Max in the driver's seat, first time in his career.
Yeah, first time in his
leading
career.
The championship.
It's
Did he
amazing
lead
that
in the
he's
championship?
he's only 23 years old, and he is a veteran of this sport already. I remember when he first came up, and I think like there was like 8 countries that he raced in that he wouldn't be legally allowed to drive in if it wasn't for provisions made for him. So yeah, Max has been around. He's still young, and he's damn good, and it just showed today, winning big at Monaco. He's something he's going to remember for the rest of his life. We know that. And the exact opposite, Charles Leclerc is going to remember this day for the rest of his life as well, but for all the wrong reasons. Luckily, everyone's safe. Everyone's healthy. No one got hurt in any of these crashes or bangs against the wall. So we're all happy for that. But other than that, as far as the sport is concerned, yeah, it's on. It's on like Donkey Kong, as you said earlier in the season. I was giving up hope after last race. I really saw Mercedes really starting to pull away, but at least Red Bull got something back. We'll see what happens going forward. It's way too early to start looking at points for me. Way too early. We're 5 races in. Give it 3-4 more races.
Well, logistically, where the points are right now, it's pretty much between Lewis and Max. Let's be real.
Well, it's going to be between Lewis and Max, but we'll see where we are. If Lewis comes back and wins 4 straight races, we're in a totally different,
100%,
totally different world. But I don't put it past Max to come back and win 4 races straight of his own. I think either of these guys. I think it's going to be a long season, like we talked about in the preseason show. I think October, November, and you might see some pulling away. But at this pace, we might be going down to the last race, which is what the entire season was designed to do and created for. And we really didn't have that, not since Vettel versus Lewis about 5-6 years back now. So it's been a while since we've looked at towards the fall and said we're going to have a race for the end here. Looks that way this year. Very exciting. I'm glad everyone has joined us once again from all around the world. Appreciate the love and support. Cheese, we're going to take a little break here, but we're going to come back and we got some winners and losers. We got some pretty big losers and some pretty nice winners tonight. So stick around. We'll be back. Greening the Cheese in the Paddock F1. Back after this.
What's up, everyone? Greeny from In the Paddock here. If you haven't heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. Please let me explain. It's free. Okay, free. There are creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. Anchor will distribute your podcast for you for free, so it can be heard on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and many, many more. You can make money as well. Money with your podcast. No minimum listenership, and it's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. Download the free Anchor app today or go to anchor.fm to get started.
What is up, F1 lunatics? We are back. Greeny and the Cheese in the Paddock F1. It is that time of the week where we talk about our winners and our losers.
You get nothing. You lose. Good day, sir.
Yeah. Not too many losers this week. Not an abundance of winners. We didn't really have any jockeying. The one thing I did notice before I toss it over to you, Cheese, is that not a single driver outside of the 2 drivers that, obviously didn't finish the race or didn't start the race. Not a single driver lost position at all today. Very, very interesting. As I was checking it out post-race, I was like, really? It's crazy. I had to do like triple check to make sure. But yeah, not a single driver lost position. Every single driver either stayed even or gained position. So it's pretty tough to have some losers, but there definitely are some. But Cheese, the floor is yours. Take it away.
What are we going to do? We're going to start with the losers. So we will go with first loser will be Daniel Ricciardo being passed by his teammate and Lando going by waving.
That was just funny. You gotta really think that Danny is, it's one thing to lose to your teammate week after week or race after race. It's another thing to get lapped by your teammate, especially when there's nothing wrong with your car. I mean, there was nothing. I don't think there was anything wrong with Danny's, car. And really, I mean, most people, including yourself, and we'll get to it next segment, picked Danny to gain 4 or 5 spots. Instead, he stayed even and he got lapped. Wow, definitely shocking. And when you talk about losers, it's really the shock. Even though he didn't lose a position, he should have gained at least 2. I mean, technically, he gained at least 2 positions, right?
Well,
he did technically lose position because he ended up in 12th, but he had two vehicles, in front of him in Bottas and Leclerc that DNF'd. So, yeah, take that as you will. But yeah, that's a big loser. And that's rough because we love Danny on the show, so that's rough.
100%. No, it's with a sad heart that we have to say that. And the biggest loser of the week, Mercedes. Clunkety clunk all weekend long, struggling all weekend. The disaster on the Bottas pit stop. With the wheel nut just, I don't know, machining itself on there and unable to get it off. Who knows if it was, dude with the gun had it going the wrong way and clung and cross, and cross-fed the nut on there, or I mean, they have had issues with the lug nuts before, so maybe there's an issue with Mercedes that they need to look at with their lug nuts. But wow, that was an absolute horrid disaster. That was Mercedes' chance to salvage. I mean, you would have two cars then. Say if they finished kind of where they started, you have 2 cars in the top 10, so you're winning points, and you're still leading the Constructors' Championship at this point. So total disaster. Lewis, they tried to bring him in early to undercut everybody. Yeah, well, that backfired and failed.
Not this time. Not this time.
He got a big fat can of nope on that stuff. I mean, even it was just a horrid, awful weekend. One that you would have to think that Mercedes has to go back and take a look at themselves in the mirror and start fixing some problems, especially with the pit stops and the tire on the the right front, which has been issues before. So, yeah, Mercedes is my big loser of the week.
Yeah, listen, I think every weekend warrior can relate to the time that they stripped like a bolt or a screw and were like, damn it to hell. Like, and how am I going to get this off now? And you're just screwed. And I mean, multiply that by about 10 million times and have the whole world watching you in the biggest race of the year here in the US on ABC, replayed from ESPN live. I mean, that's some big showing. Millions of Americans are watching the show, tens of millions of people around the world, and it's embarrassing when it happens in my garage, let alone in that garage. So yeah, that's a big fat loser there for Mercedes. Do we have any winners though? It seems like we have a bunch of winners, but give me a quick overview of a couple of your big ones.
I have three. The number 3 will be Lando finishing 3rd. Great performance from Lando, getting on the podium, especially at Monaco. It's a great, it's the biggest, most prestigious race in Formula One. So getting on the podium here, getting up there with Prince Albert, it's a big deal. So kudos to Lando for finishing 3rd. He's a winner. Number 2 winner will be Carlos Sainz, getting the Ferrari on the podium. Massive to see a Ferrari on the podium. Would have loved to have seen 2. As we discussed earlier, but Carlos Sainz, kudos to you, finishing 2nd. And my big winners of the week, we've been trashing them all season, So we got to give them kudos when they do something right. And that'll be Aston Martin with the 5th and an 8th place finishes. Vettel looked a little bit like old Seb there. That pass on Gasly when he came out of his pit stop was Hoochie Mama Go-Go Juice time. That was, wow. Even Gasly said if he didn't probably back off, somebody might have ended up in the water somewhere or in the crowd. It wouldn't have been good. So that was a risky, very, let's just say, big cojones pass there by Seb. A little old Seb action there. So we're going to give it to Aston Martin as the big winners of the week, outside of course, Red Bull.
Yeah, and I also think his teammate as well, Lance Stroll, did pretty well for himself as well, starting in 13th and finishing the race in 8th.
Absolutely.
He was the biggest gainer, tied with Sergio, who came from 9th to 4th, who also drove a wonderful race. I believe he was named driver of the day. And, I want to give
Sebastian was driver of the day.
I apologize. Sebastian ended up being driver of the day. Maybe Perez finished second, but great job by Sebastian. Great job by Perez. Great job by Aston Martin overall today, finally pulling something out there and having a good Sunday. I also got to give it up a little bit to Pierre Gasly for holding off Lewis Hamilton. He was up there. I mean, he was within a second a lot, right up there on Hamilton was right up there on Gasly, and Gasly held him off the whole race. We see a lot of times Gasly does, start the race this season up there and, finishes behind the big 6 this time, or even the big 8. And this time he was able to hold off the greatest driver in the world and maybe the greatest driver of all time for 78 laps around Monaco. So kudos to Pierre for holding his position and finishing in 6th place.
Very nicely done, sir. Very nicely done. And to move on to I think both of our favorite award that we now hand out each week. It is the Slap My Own Damn Self Award.
I need to slap my goddamn self for that.
And we talked about it a minute ago, but you have to give it to Mercedes. They absolutely get the Slap My Own Damn Self Award this week. 100%. That pit stop was embarrassing. Embarrassing. Get out the powder, Mercedes. Slap your own damn selves.
Yeah, the SMOD SFT award this week, as we have come to know it. It's like the only team that sucked this week was Mercedes. Who saw that coming? I mean,
no one.
Who saw that every single team on the track came to run almost, I mean, whatever the disaster with the Leclerc car was, except for Mercedes, who at least Ferrari got to redeem themselves by, taking a number 2. I think if Sainz finished 4th, it might have been a little bit different. It might have been way more disappointing, but you had Sainz on podium at least to save the day. But, Mercedes,
Get out the powder.
Yeah,
Get out the powder.
You don't sandbag it at Monaco, so I don't think it was sandbagging. I'll tell you that for damn sure.
They didn't have it. They couldn't get heat in their tires. They couldn't get any traction all weekend long. I mean, Bottas at the end, and at free practice 3, and then in qualifying, he finally got it hooked up. That's why he was up where he was after in qualifying, up with 3rd. So he finally was able to get some heat and grip out of the tires, but Lewis struggled all weekend. The Mercedes struggled all weekend, and they're gonna have to take a look at it. But that pit stop was just totally embarrassing. I mean, watch, especially when it's like the shortest pit stop turnaround time of the season. It's like 20 seconds at Monaco, and you're just watching that car sit there for like 40 seconds. I think it was like almost like a minute before they said, yeah.
Yeah, it was like over a minute. Yeah, it was brutal. It was brutal to watch. If you were a Mercedes fan, that was brutal to watch.
That for a Formula One pit stop is like an eternity.
Well, it wasn't a pit stop. It was just a DNF situation.
That's at that point, yeah. But it's just that you get the slap. You get out the powder. Get out the
Yeah,
car.
that whole damn garage, and again. I mean, it's not like a theme yet. It was a theme late last season, kind of carried over to the beginning of this season, where we saw that long pit stop for Bottas. He had some issues this season. It was the whole, the George Russell situation last year when he was in the Mercedes, and yeah, it seems to be a little recurring, and you don't want it to happen at the wrong time.
I don't believe in coincidences. It kind of looks like a trend.
Yeah, it looking like a trend. So with that, we're going to end right there. We're going to put it on pause just for a moment. We're going to come back. Are we cashing in or checking out? I just want to let you know, we both bet on the trifecta. We'll give the results when we get back from this segment. But the trifecta this week, the winner paid 46-1. Did one of us get 46-1 on our money? Stick around. Greeny and the Cheese in the Paddock F1. Back after this.
Over the years, I've also developed an enormous gambling problem. You're not in show business for a decade and dressed like this without a bad gambling problem. I was making 35 grand a week on a sitcom. I'm wearing the same jacket I wore at a Rush concert in 1981.
Welcome back, F1 lunatics in the Paddock F1. Greeny and the Cheese. And for everybody's favorite segment of the week, it is cashing in or are we checking out? And is Greeny Cheese there? The 46-1 odds on that trifecta? And did any one of us get it? That's a big fat can of nope.
That is a can of nope, my friend. A whole can of it. Crack it open, shake it up, and let it the carbon blow up in your face, because that's what at least we got for our trifectas. It was a big fat juicy 46-1. Obviously with Verstappen, Sainz, and Lando, definitely not the most popular picks. But yeah, I mean, that's what we're looking at right now. That was a damn good gambling race. There was definitely a lot of money to be won. Biggest gainers of the week, as we talked about last segment, were Lance Stroll and Sergio Perez. Did either of us bet on those? No. So those were both losers in that column. The trifectas, you had Charles Leclerc, so I mean I could just stop there. Just had Charles Leclerc winning, which was good odds, but I could just stop there. And if you bet a lot of money on this race, which you did not, because you are very conservative and a very, very smart gambler, you definitely bet with your head and not over it. So with that being said, I think, even though you lost, you didn't really get destroyed. You lost 60 greeny bucks out of the 1,000 that we put down. For those of you who missed it, we are playing the greeny bucks game here. So instead of gambling real money, because we're discouraging gambling on real money for these races, so we are going to gamble on some greeny bucks, $1,000 each. We'll play it out until one of us is broke and begging for cash, and who the hell knows what. So it leaves you with $940 after the $320 bets. And myself, I did pick Max Verstappen to win. Max Verstappen did win. Fairly low payout, 115 to 100. So therefore, my total is 865 greeny bucks versus your 940 greeny bucks. So you are in the lead. But I did enjoy the fact that I did win one of my bets and lost the other two.
What'd you win? $15?
Well, I bet 250 and I won 115.
But you bet 100 on that bet, so you basically won like $15.
Out
of that bet.
No. Well, I won my money back.
$15 out of that bet.
No, I won 115 on a $100 bet.
But so you bet 100, you got 115 back, so you won $15.
I plus 15, and then I lost 150 on the other two bets.
Right. No, I'm just saying. So you won $15 on your win bet. That's what I'm saying.
But you're just covering your own tracks because you won a zero. You're 1-0. You could have, if you were just
All
gambling.
my bets hinged on the Ferrari, which didn't even start the race. It was a gamble throwing it on there anyway.
If you were
We're taking the odds, baby. If he starts the race, very good chance he wins the race because you can't pass anybody at Monaco. As we've seen, Danny Ricciardo win at Monaco with a poor engine. So with the down power engine. So you don't even need power to win at Monaco. You just got to be in front of the other guy, basically. So if the Ferrari starts the race, he possibly wins that race. So everything I had hinged on that. That's why I wasn't going bananas with my money. Plus, I'm also conservative with my money when I'm gambling. We're not throwing it out there. We like to score first. Then we can get a little aggressive. You got to build the stack, then get aggressive.
I'm not criticizing what you're saying. I'm just saying you're going at me as if I didn't pick at least one winner.
Well, you're talking that bet up like you won a buttload of money.
I'm not. I didn't. Listen, we asked to pick a winner. I told you who the winner was going to be. It didn't pay well, but I wasn't going to pick someone that I didn't think was going to win. If you were you just a degenerate gambler and didn't care about the race, you could have went to bed before the opening lap. So because it was done early, but it happens. Listen, it happens, but as the great late Bing Crosby once said, if some butts were candy and nuts, it would be a Merry Christmas for us all. But they're not. So I
100%.
leave you
100%.
I leave you with that. It was definitely a rough gambling week.
But I am still ahead.
$20, you are still ahead. We will take it on again in 2 weeks. In the
fortnight,
next
yes.
In a fortnight. So that is where we are. We are both checking out this week. No cashing in. Checking out. But yeah, we will make it up in Baku.
It sounds like it should be in Star Wars, by the way.
Yeah, Baku is Azerbaijan. One of the great races, I believe. That castle just makes you could barely fit one car through that. I mean, it really is amazing that they actually use that castle. It's pretty cool and adds that element of danger, which we always enjoy seeing. Cars going through as fast as they can through a tight space there. So any parting words for our fans and lunatics out there? Cheese.
What a race in Monaco, as Monaco always gives you. The drama, excitement, flying around the streets. It's a damn good time. Hope everybody enjoyed it. We'll see you in 2 weeks on D-Day weekend for us in the States.
Yeah, it'll be a Saturday night special coming at you 2 weeks from last night. And we'll be back here in 2 weeks on Sunday night for the post-race Baku. Cheese. I'll see you, man.
Peace out.
Peace out.